Welcome to April's Evergreen session. We've got updates for Copilot, OneDrive, Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, and a couple from around 365. Let's start with Copilot. The ability to create spreadsheets from Copilot notebooks. Now, you've heard me say in the last 2 months that I struggle with notebooks a little bit. I struggle with them being a bit sticky for me and working out how I would genuinely use them. And we have some people on the call who've shared how they use them. If you do use them, folks, it'd be great for you to pop something in the chat so other people can see how you use Copilot notebooks, because a lot of people do struggle. But you're going to see them come up a few times in this session, and I think they're about to find their place, and we'll see why in a moment. Okay, so I've got my Copilot notebook. I've got all my resources down here because my notebook is like a little container, like a little, almost like a little Copilot container that only looks at the stuff that I've told it to look at. And over on the right hand side, I've said create a spreadsheet using the attached references. The output should have no content other than what's in my references and what I've told you can look at. Okay, and it's created it. So it will create it based on the content. It's interesting. Look at this. The example they've given has created tabs. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this looks and how this works. And of course, if you want to, you can go and edit that in Excel if you prefer. But it'd be really interesting for those of you, maybe your stats type people or your finance folks or numbers. It'd be interesting actually to see what this can do for you when it is available. Okay, you should have that by late May. New tools for designer in Copilot. So I read this and my instant thought on this is I'm struggling with this functionality, and I don't know why you wouldn't go to the Create app that's in Copilot. But it might be that Microsoft is trying to create like an in-between place for more lightweight images that you're creating. So let's have a look at how we get to designer. So I'm going to now open the Unified Plus menu that's here in the middle, and down here I have designer. So let's move that along. So you can see here that I've got designer. So you've probably already got that. You're gonna have a look. But what's new are these tools. I apologize for the slightly fuzzy screenshot, by the way, folks. Look at this. I create an image, an icon, a series of images, infographic, maybe a poster, and a size as well. And we get some other tools. This is meant to just make it a little bit easier for you to create images. Like I say, I personally I'd be going to the Create app, and it might be that this does bridge a gap between chat and going to the Create agents. It says due by early April. I tested it earlier, and I can't get this stuff to surface, only designer. So it might be that it's about to drop any day, or we're going to see a delay soon. Okay. Not much in this first section for Copilot, because actually Copilot is more scattered in the apps today. Let's see what else we've got. I've told you about the researcher output formats, so you know that you can already do it in Word, but research is a great tool. And here we've got we can now output to PowerPoint, PDF, infographic, or an audio overview. It might be that you've done quite a bit of research. Maybe Jill, you've done some research on a topic that matters to you. And actually, the way you absorb information is by listening, and it will just do this for you straight away. And I think that looks great. You should have that by the end of the month. Real-time conversation is coming to M365 Copilot Chat. So for some of us, it won't be here until late April. Now, I tested this today and just had a little play with it. You know what? It's really good. So I'm conscious that on these sessions, I speak fairly quickly. And now, of course, when you watch this back on the recording, you can slow it down a fraction, and you can turn on the transcript as well, so you can absorb it that way. So I decided to have a chat with Copilot on a machine I know I don't have any early access. So I had a look at this, and then I had a chat with Copilot about comfortable speeds of speaking. And now I've become conscious of it. You can tell that I've slowed down a little bit. And it told me about the speed that Copilot speaks to me. It offered to change the speed at which it speaks to me, and then I asked it to measure mine. So we read a piece, and it came back to me. It said it's a little bit quick. So honestly, it's brilliant, and you can see that Ionica tried this today and loved it. And it got their South African accent. Yeah, it's great, Ionica. I was really impressed with it. I really liked it. Folks, anyone else tried that? You got any thoughts on it you'd like to share, Ionica? You don't have to, because I know you've already spoken, but if you want to come off mute and tell us what you did with it, that's great, but you don't have to, of course.
I just saw the little lines and I thought, let me try that because, my typing is ridiculous. So anything that stops me from typing is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I spoke very quickly and very jumbled, and it
Uh-huh.
actually got everything. And it's what's nice. It does put, so you can go back to that conversation. So you've got the text there.
Yeah.
So don't think that you won't have the text anymore.
Uh-huh.
Got the text and everything. And like I
Yeah.
said, it got my South African accent, so I'm happy.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Well, it gets my Birmingham accent, so I'm happy as well. Um, so it's interesting. So we've got this, so you can talk to it there, that's great. But this two-way conversation, I found myself just kind of like had my kind of like elbow on the desk, kind of staring out the window, chatting to it, and it was a surprisingly good experience, folks. So go and try that. Really interesting. And similar, you might know that if you go, for example, go into your OneDrive, go to a file, you can get it to create an audio overview, and you can have the podcast set up in there, and those real-time voice interactions. So it might be that Lucy Woods, you've been sent a briefing from one of our partners, maybe in Europe, and you got 25,000 pages on this thing, and for whatever reason, it's in your OneDrive, and you're reading it from in here because that's just for whatever reason that's where it is. And it might be that actually you just want to talk to it about it, and it might be that you're only interested in 10% of it, but your topic is spread throughout the document, and then you can have a conversation and discuss it. So that if it's anything like that thing that Ionica and I I've tried recently, if it's anything like that, I've got high hopes for that. Okay, so those of you who don't know, I apologize for not covering this to start with. This symbol tells you that this is off in the distance. Okay, this is from the 365 Admin Center, and on the next set of slides, I'll make sure that I tell you what those symbols mean. So these are very high level, but they give you an idea of what's coming and sort of things that I will tell you next month. But I just had to tell you about this one. This is great. Critique in Researcher. So I really like Researcher, but GPT will do the first pass, and then Claude will mark its homework and assess it all and check the references and stuff like that. I think that's fantastic. What else do we have coming to a researcher council? So it will use multiple AI models to do the same thing for you, and then you can compare and look at the differences, and it will help you compare and look at the differences. My first thought was that sounds expensive. The any sort of different licensing for that, but I just think that's for those people who like use Researcher, but then find themselves having to read everything like to the note and check it every single thing. I think that would just help you just to have a little bit more confidence in what you're seeing. Okay, going back to notebooks. So this is coming in May. So really lucky at Inform. I have early access. I early access to some features because well because of the nature of our work, and we really enjoy looking at what's coming and getting our head around it before our clients ask us about it. But look at this. This is a screenshot of the new feature mind maps coming to notebooks. This is based on one of my Evergreen notebooks that I have, and this can be all expanded. So you go in there and you say, I want you to create a mind map, and you can expand it and explore it. Really interesting functionality, folks. And this is part of, I think, notebooks getting just way more useful. In fact, while I'm here, I just want to just show you this. So here's my notebook. You see that I've got my notebook set up there. I've got my different assets, but I click the quick create. Okay, so you might have fewer items in here. Certainly on that machine behind me, government machine, I've got fewer things in here. But look at this, I can create the mind map, but the study guide is fantastic. It's really good. I can create an audio overview right from in here. You probably got that already. But creating documents, presentations, worksheets, I think it might be maybe that David Franter, it might be that you're studying for an IT exam, and you've got all your resources in here, all your Microsoft stuff, all your stuff from work. Maybe you got some other resources from MVPs that publish the stuff, and then you got this little contained Copilot. Let's call it's your Copilot notebook, and from there you can create an audio overview of your learning resources, maybe a mind map. There's different types of study guides. So, folks, I think you need to keep an eye on notebooks. About to get super useful.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause for breath. Folks, anyone got any questions or comments about that stuff in Copilot? Particularly interested in your thoughts in notebooks. Anyone look at that and think you might have a use for notebooks?
I'm really not liking them at the moment, and I'm
Mm.
tending to put a lot of stuff into OneNote just because I didn't find it very helpful in the way that it added what you'd put in your search. So in the
Yeah,
chat, sorry, and then
yeah.
keeping that, and then you say, can you add this as a page? And then it goes and puts it somewhere else. So at the moment, undecided but hopeful. Also want to know how well it will share with others. So because OneNote is so easy for collaboration.
Yeah, so a couple of
So
points there, Jill. So, what I love about these sessions is that, and those of you who know me know that I say this quite a lot. But when I ask what people think of stuff, you can just say what you think, because we don't all have to have the same opinion, do we? We all have different experiences. So the sharing point of view, so the notebooks can be shared now, Jill. So hopefully that's a little bit easier. But I've really struggled with them as well, Jill. So I use OneNote. I use OneNote for my manual static type things that I keep notes of. For me, for me, this works well for having instead of having to every time I do a prompt, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. I can create my notebook where it only looks at that resource. Okay, and that works really well for me. And maybe somewhere it might be that I've done something in Copilot and I create a page and I want to add the page to my OneNote because actually that's part of my research as well. So for me, they occupy quite different spaces, Jill. But it'd be interesting to see how they pan out and how it manifests. But I'm with you, Jill. I've personally struggled, but I know some people on the call really do get on with them. OneDrive. View and edit Markdown files in OneDrive and SharePoint. I don't use Markdown files, folks. I scarcely know what they are. I tried Markdown once, and then it just felt for me, it just felt like too much work. So I'm going to whiz through this. Interested in the chat, see if anyone uses Markdown, or whether this update means anything to you. So you can see here, I'm in my OneDrive. Actually, this is my OneDrive. Actually, I think I can create a Markdown document. Apparently, the no downloads or third-party tools is a big deal, and then you can open your files and you can format them and work on them over here, folks. I don't quite know what I'm looking at. I've got to be honest with you. So, but if that resonates with you, that would be great to hear in the chat. But do you know what? I need to find my slide, and actually, because there's something in here that's coming. I'll tell you about next month. That will help this make more sense. So there's something coming to SharePoint, a Copilot feature coming to SharePoint for actions, where you can string together little actions so we can do things with documents. They're trying to make the whole automation with Copilot a lot easier, and these actions are going to be stored as Markdown files in the SharePoint site where you create them. That I think is where this functionality has come from. So look at next month, folks. Hopefully, I'll be telling you about. No, in fact, I know I will be telling you about this new feature coming, and I think this is actually to support that. But no one said anything about Markdown files, so we're going to skip on. Very quickly, for those of you who use OneDrive Sync and Mac, it's about to get a little bit easier. So look out for that, folks. Between early April and May, you're going to get a couple of changes that are going to make your OneDrive syncing a little bit easier on your Macs. Copilot actions in OneDrive and SharePoint file preview. I don't use file preview. I'd be interested if other people do, but it's going to suggest prompts when you go to a file, you click preview, it's going to suggest prompts and engagement with Copilot on there. Like I say, that one's off in the distance, so maybe I'll talk to you about that next month if it's a substantial update, and improved maximum path error experience on desktop in OneDrive. So you know that sometimes our files can have like mega huge names. They shouldn't, but sometimes they do. If any of you experience that, they're going to get a little bit easier to handle. And if that does come out over the next month or so, and it's worth me telling you about, I'll give you all the details next month. Okay, folks. Pausing for breath. Victoria, Dominic, you okay with that content?
Yes. Sorry, I had to find my headset.
I apologise for ambushing you.
That's okay. Ready.
Very good. Folks, anything catch anyone's eye in that OneDrive section? Okie dokie. So let's have a look at Outlook. Right. Let me just set the scene here and say something about this. Bill Gates, many moons ago, had a vision where on a computer you would do You just have an interface and you would just do computing stuff. You wouldn't have to go to different apps to do things. And honestly, I think we are on the edge. I genuinely think that we're on the edge of that happening now. You know that in previous months I've told you about going to Copilot and setting up calendar rules that live in your Outlook, setting up rules for mail. I've spoken to you previously about setting up meetings with people, so you can just come into Copilot and I can say, set a create a meeting with Leanne Donald, and or I can just put Leanne because it knows who I work with on a regular basis, and I can say I want it for this time. Ignore availability, just do it, or give me some ideas and give me the title, and you can create it and you can set up your meeting from inside Copilot, and that works beautifully. I'm going to tell you about a planner feature later, but let's just focus on this one. So I'm right inside Outlook, Copilot, sorry, draft an email to my manager about the morale event at the end of the quarter. Okay, let's have a closer look at this. So you can see I've zoomed in a little bit. So once it's created it and drafted it, I can come in here, right inside here. So I don't have to hand it off to Outlook yet. I can do my content in here. I can modify my recipients. And if I want to, I can send it right from in here. Okay, or I can open it in Outlook and then finish drafting it in there. So interesting, folks. I think you're going to see more and more of this, and I almost see like a vision of Copilot chat. And I don't know whether they've said it. They have, and I've just subconsciously picked it up. I apologize to whoever's original thought it is, but I look at it, I just think I can just hear or just see what Bill Gates wanted to achieve. I can see it being like just this unified interface for doing stuff, and you only go to the apps if you need, but by exception. Veronica's been using this, not great to copy and paste. Okay, I think that's really interesting, folks. Right, I need some help in the chat here. I do not, at the moment, my current role, I don't engage in shared mailboxes, and I don't look after delegated mailboxes. I need to know whether this is of use to you and how much I should share this elsewhere. Access Copilot chat whilst working in a shared or delegated mailbox. Summarize and draft will work in the shared and delegated mailboxes. You don't need to specify whose mailbox you're talking about. But the Copilot conversation is saved into your account, not the account of the mailbox that you are working on. Due early May to early June, folks. I'm really interested. Is that of interest to people? Terence, what do you think about that?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, definitely interesting. I do work with some personal assistants, PAs, executive assistants, whatever you call them, and it was one of the first asks that they had back when Copilot came out. It's like, oh, it's great, I can do all of this stuff, but I actually need to be able to do it in my boss's mailbox. And back then it was a flat no, you can't do that. So it's great to see. I'm not actually sure when this became possible, but the fact that it's maybe even becoming possible now or improving if it's been around for a while is really good to see. So I think that it'll get a lot of interest from a small group of people, but they tend to be the people that are running the company as much as the directors like to think they're doing it. It's the PAs who know what's going on. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's a really good point there, Terence. I think that's going to be a low volume of people will like this, but high impact.
Yeah.
Who else we're going to chat? So yeah, look at this in the chat, folks. This will be a big one for our so we've got Joe, big one for our organization. Lots of people already asking for it. I think it'll be really useful to us, says Laura. So Claire, we have a lot of people managing shared mailboxes. This sounds like a very useful function. Lucy said it'd be great for them using the shared mailboxes. Archie talks about the power behind the phone. Yeah. So I think so do we know if it's something that will be a standard or will come as an option and have turned off? So Claire, I think it'll be as standard if you've got a paid or a paid for stroke premium Copilot license is my expectation. Okay, a couple of quick ones, very quick ones. Mobile Outlook. So you know that in Outlook you can follow a meeting reasonably new. I think that's 6 or 7 months ago. You could follow a meeting, so it just means that it stays in your calendar. It's easy to get to the assets of the meeting. When the meeting starts, the person starting it, a little pop-up tells them that someone's following this meeting, consider recording it or putting on the transcript. Anyway, that functionality is coming to mobile. Multi-select in new Outlook and Teams calendars. So the ability to select multiple events and do stuff with it. So I'm thinking maybe Archie is about to go on leave and wants to tidy up their inbox. What I'm hoping is that you can go in and you can multi-select the events that happen in your leave period, and then you can respond to them all in one go. I think that would be excellent. Instantly find rules. Some people have got a gazillion rules apparently, and you find your rules and your quick steps and other stuff by name is coming. That's a substantial one. I'll tell you more about that next month. But I think my favourite one on here is this middle one. I think that's got lots of potential to help you tidy up your calendars. Okie dokie. So Claire saying we don't have this yet, so that it's on its way, Claire. Folks, any Outlook comments before we go and see what's happening? And we have a very quick look at the SharePoint world. How about Joe? What you got, Joe?
Yeah, just a quick question on the mailbox stuff. Is that primarily new Outlook or classic?
Okay, so I don't know about this one here actually. I'm just looking at it because it's a lot. Well, a lot of stuff is a lot of stuff that comes to the new Outlook, but when it comes to Copilot, they seem to put Copilot in. They seem to make more effort with Copilot features in Classic Outlook because they want you to use Copilot, don't they? So I've got to be honest, I don't know. Certainly these new ones here. There's this one here is in new Outlook and the Teams calendar, but Joe, I don't know for this one if I'm honest. And actually, if it called it out, I think I'd put it on the slide. So I don't know. I'm trying to work out the logic. So I'm going to have to see, Joe. I don't know. I'm afraid. If anyone can find that out while we're chatting, so that functionality, be great. Pop that in here. Pop that in the chat, please. Okay. Let's see what's going on in SharePoint. Only a couple of things over here. So we've got this clock icon tells you that this is delayed by some period of time. So you might know that when you go and look at your workflows experience in Teams, you've got like a nice new interface now, and it looks like this. Well, that experience is coming to SharePoint. So just to make little automations a little bit easier. So you might see an increase in that use. That's been pushed back a few times actually, but is now due early April to early May. It's interesting. Interesting to see whether it changes when it comes out because it's been pushed back for so many times now. But that is due by early May now. Okay, look at this. This is interesting. So SharePoint Site and Page Analytics, AI citations for documents and pages. Let's have a look at this. It's a bit blurry, but because I'll read out to you what it says. So this new section here, so this new AI citations, the number of times Copilot and AI agents referenced this site's documents and pages, and then over here, the number of unique users who access this site's content through Copilot and AI agents. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. If you're someone who has to keep an eye on engagement, I think that will be useful for you. Okay. So lists, you know that in prompting, lists got a little bit left behind. I think I told you last month that when your lists came to Context IQ, didn't it? It took me a second. You know, when we did a lot for the forward slash, or we had work content, then we could add. Last month we could add lists. Well, agents in SharePoint and OneDrive can now access lists as well. So Claire, before I move along, what was very interesting? You don't have to, if you regret typing that, you don't want to come off mute. That's okay. But what was it that caught your eye, Claire?
Hi, it was the analytics on the SharePoint pages and stuff. I
Yeah.
think where we are now, we struggle sometimes with reading what we've currently got. So I think there's more that we need to understand about it. But yeah, as soon as I geeked out a smidge, as soon as you could tell what's going through Copilot as well. So thank you.
Excellent. You're very welcome, Claire. I love it when and then again, that might be a small audience but high impact for them. But those who
Yeah.
like it will really like it, and
Yeah.
the rest of us are just looking at it and thinking, "Ah, pretty graphs."
Yeah, we create a lot of tech pages, but I also run a lot of like EDI related hubs and stuff like that. So it's really good to try and get better understanding from these stats. And so yeah, thank you very
Very
much.
good. Thank you, Claire. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, folks, let's very quickly wrap up. Let's make up a couple of minutes. New experience when minimizing the Teams meeting window. So by default, this is what you're going to see, and you can have up to 4 video feeds in there. So that's the expanded. They describe it as the expanded minimized view. That's what you get. And then there's the compact minimized view, which is down here. And this is they say that this is useful for multitasking. And the reality is that some meetings we go to, you don't need to engage with every single word, do you? If it's an important meeting, I know you're meant to be present, but sometimes you just need to just listen out, don't you? And you can engage right from that minimized view if you need to. Folks, you should have that sometime in May, by the end of May. Okay, I'm going to slow it down a little bit because I think this is this I saw this in the admin center. I had to read it a couple of times because he didn't make a big deal about it, but I think this is a big deal. Just give me a thumbs up. Has anyone ever had a private channel or a shared channel and someone's asked them for, or you've wanted Planner inside your private channel and only the people in that channel want to be able to see the content?
All the time.
Victoria and Gail and Terence and Joe and Claire. Yep, just you 5. This is for you. Oh, and Jill as well. Okay. I know, right, Victoria. I saw this. I had to read it, and I read it a couple times, and I read it again before I came on this session. So I was like, I'm actually I haven't got this one wrong because this is quite big.
Finally.
I know, right? So let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to add. So here we're in a private channel, and we're going to just do our normal way. We're going to add an app, and we're going to select. We're going to select Planner. I can add, as you might expect, I can add a new plan or an existing plan that lives inside that channel. Planner inherits the channel permissions and membership. It uses all the shared or private channels, SharePoint for the storage and for access. And basically all the rules that you'd expect it to have, it seems to have. Okay, so for me, folks, I think people are going to love that. I've been asked for, I think since private channels came out, people have wanted Planner inside their channel, and the crowd does go wild. You're absolutely right, Victoria. It's fabulous. So someone saying no chat in Planner. Yes, ideally it doesn't have chat in Planner. So certainly in the environment that I access, the government environment I access on that desk behind me, folks. In Planner, I do have the new chat experience, and that is so much better for me as well. So, you know what? Planner's had a good couple of weeks, I reckon. Okay. Video recap for Teams meetings. We'll make them a couple of minutes on this one, I think. In fact, we've got a minute in hand, actually. Folks, anyone got any questions, comments about that? Anyone looking at that and think it's going to solve a problem? Really interested to see if anyone wants to come off mute and comment on that one.
That's going to help in my disability channel because at the minute it's locked down due to the nature of some of the conversations in the Strand and stuff. So I wasn't able to put a planner in there when I wanted to lead in the Strand. So great, it's fab.
Yeah, I agree, Claire. I think it's a fantastic. I'm surprised at how little fanfare that they just appeared. For me, it just appeared. I'm sure that it appeared in other. We all have different lenses and look at different things, don't we? But I was delighted. Anyway, video recap for Teams meetings. So we've gone into a meeting, we've gone into recap, and we've got this new option here called a video recap, and it's going to have narrated video highlights from recorded meetings that are conducted in English at the moment, combines key takeaways with short video clips to showcase important discussion points, predictably, you need an M365 Copilot license, or you might see in brackets with because you might notice when you look at Copilot now, you've got Copilot license. We go to Copilot chat, bottom left-hand corner, you might see Copilot, and in brackets it says premium now, just to make it really clear where you do or do not have a license. We do, folks, late April to early May. So it'd be interesting to see how good that is, won't it? Because they can be quite variable, some of the recaps. So really looking forward to seeing how good that is. Moving on and get a couple of minutes back. Teams catch up on mobile. For those of you who spend a lot of time on mobile, I'm thinking about. I don't think Emma's on this call. I think Emma's off today, but I know that and Sam as well. They spend a lot of time going to meetings, and they're looking at Teams on their mobile devices. Look at this new option here. So we've got this new little catch-up button. Again, I apologise. When I zoom in, they get a bit clunky, don't they? So we've got this new catch-up button coming to Teams on mobile. And it will help you triage the conversation. So it will look at chats, meeting chats, follow channels, any threads that you're following that need your attention, and it will draw those up and pull them up all into one place. So you don't have to go to all the places. But in here, once you click into it, once you click into it, you can mark it as read, but also there's swipes as well to mark as unread or to note or get off the list. So be really interesting. If you're a heavy mobile user, you should have that by early May, and I think that would just make the flow work a little bit easier. Some quick ones. Microsoft is pushing Viva Engage communities into the chat navigation. So I'm in chat, and I can see here I've got my communities. That's been pushed back a little bit, now due May. It was interesting when I talked about that the first time, when I gave you the full the version of this update. I was a bit grumpy about it, but some people really like it. So we'll see. We'll see how that lands. But it's not going to land yet. It's going to land in May. Auto detect spoken language in multilingual meetings. I know that we've got quite a few people on this call who work internationally. So if you have multilingual meetings, it's the ability to choose language will be disabled, and it will automatically detect. Binge, that might be worth, if that applies to you, that might be worth having a read of that one, folks. Just if you just did that text that's on the screen there, if you just did a Google search for that, you'll be able to read a little bit more. But it's going to be automatic, and there's a limited amount of numbers of languages that it supports, so it might be worth having a read. Okay, I need to read this one. Okay, so I'm gonna have to read this one out to you because I don't get it. So it might be interesting if you could help me in the chat about if this is useful to you. So Microsoft will introduce improvements to the code block experience in Microsoft Teams Compose that will make it easier for you to read, share, and navigate code with automatic line numbers, improved keyboard navigation, remembered language selection, and continued support for familiar insertion methods when you share code in chats or channels. Folks, does anybody want to pop off mute and tell me what I just said? Does that mean anything to anyone, or is that super niche?
I'll take a punt on this one, Mark.
Yeah, go on.
So when you use code editing tools like Visual Studio, that just dates how long ago I looked at code, but it's got line numbers.
Yeah.
So often when you're talking to other people about code, you can say something like, in line 25, you're missing a bracket to close a statement or a loop, and that's why the code isn't working.
Okay.
So what I suspect that means is when you copy and paste a block of code into Teams, and Teams recognizes this is a block of code, it'll have those numbers, and also there'll be some keyboard shortcuts. So instead of scroll through thousands of lines of code, there'll be some kind of keyboard shortcut to quickly go to a specific line.
Thank you, Terence. Gail, are you going to add to that? You popped off, you put your camera on, so I'm guessing you are. Okay, tell us then. Pop off mute and tell us what you got.
I had nothing to say. I just finished my lunch.
Oh, sorry, Gail. Oh, that's okay. Well, thank you for putting your camera on, Gail. It's nice to talk to you. But it seems like, Gail, like me, you don't have a lot of use for that. Maybe. Folks, that sounds super niche. Thank you, Terence. Let us move along. Express voice enrollment in Microsoft Teams. So you might know that in Microsoft Teams, you can enroll your voice and it's good for attribution for who said what, but also it's good for noise isolation. To give you an idea of how good this was, that computer behind me, I always use that on its speakers and its mic. It's an Apple device, it's an Apple Mac, and it's got fabulous speakers and fabulous mic on it. That's how I use that device. And I was chatting to somebody, and my wife came in. She just came in to say something to me, and she knows the person who was on the screen. And when she was speaking to her, she literally couldn't. You could see her lips moving, but the person we were talking to couldn't hear my wife, even though she was standing right next to me. The voice isolation was so good. It was like she was muted, and the person could only hear me. So the voice isolation is fantastic. If those of you who are in a mixed area or an open office, this is worth you looking at. And to get more people to enroll, express voice enrollment. When you're on a meeting, you'll get a pop-up and it'll say, if you're okay with this, we're going to just listen to you during this meeting for a few words, and then we're going to enroll you in a voice enrollment, which is good for attribution, but also it's fantastic for their voice isolation. One of the reasons I'm telling you this, folks, is that if you support people, look after them, they might be like, for example, they might be, Gail, what is this thing that I'm getting enrolled with? Why is it popped up? What even is it? So this one might be worth you having a look at and sharing with your colleagues, because at some point in May, it's going to start appearing. Any questions, comments?
That multi-language translation feature is so good. I've been on calls where I'm with someone from Cameroon, I think it was, where they speak French.
Yeah.
But people in their team didn't have good English.
Yeah.
So they turned that on. I spoke English, and the people on the other side were saying, it's translating into my English into French on the fly.
Yeah.
Not only that, it was using my voice. So it wasn't like a computer voice, Stephen Hawking style talking French. It was me speaking French. It was mind blowing.
Yeah. So I haven't used it. I haven't used it, Terence, but I've read about that, and it will translate. So I could speak French in a Birmingham accent. So our content, yeah, but you know what I mean. But our continental friends could hear me speaking French or German or whatever else in a familiar voice. Yeah, I've read how amazing it is, Terence. But that's a really good show. Okay, let's have a quick look at this. Choose AI model when editing presentations in PowerPoint. So this is a big topic, and I'm going to talk about it for about 120 seconds. So this might be worth you looking at later. Microsoft has onboarded Anthropic as a sub-processor, okay, which means that it will surface inside the Microsoft 365 apps, and you're going to see it happening. I'm going to mention it again later. It's going to surface in other places. It's got a little asterisk there, right, to remind me to tell you that I'm not anything I'm about to say doesn't apply to US government environments. I'm talking about the UK and Europe. So it is off by default. In the UK and Europe, this is off by default, okay, but can just be turned on. The rest of the world, excluding US government, is going to be on by default. So you're going to probably see a lot of content surfacing, a lot of comments surfacing, people using this, because for a large portion of the world, this is going to be on by default. It will be available to us, but your admin's got to turn it on. Now, from a security point of view, there's some things to consider, but I'm not going to call out who they are. But the government agency that I'm working with at the moment, UK government, they're actively looking at this to see whether it can, and they're actively looking at it just to look at the pros and cons of it, and obviously the security and compliance and all that. But anyway, let's get over the glom. So you've got a paid Copilot M365 license. You can choose in PowerPoint which of these models that you use. Right, it will default to auto, but if you get on better with Claude, I know that some people do, then you can make that choice. That's going to be available by early May if it's available to you. I think that's going to be super interesting, and I think this is going to be the future of I'm going to just call it AI in Microsoft, because it's not going to be just Copilot, is it? It's going to be Copilot is like the front door, but you can have access to all of these models eventually, aren't you? Create and manage tasks with Copilot Planner agents. So ignore the fact it says Frontier, folks, okay? Because I've tested this on that machine behind me. So a government environment, a UK government environment. I've got no special access. I've just got a regular paid M365 Copilot license, and this works over there as well. So I've asked it to create a task to wrap up the March update, add this list to the notes, and then complete slides, send to subscribers, blah, 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 the due date, and I've told it that it's important. Okay, look at this. It said I've successfully created just, these are all screenshots, by the way, so this is something that I've done. And it says that it's created it, and it's offered. Look at this, it's been helpful. I can break your notes into checklist items. Okay, I can put it to a specific plan if you want me to, and create up follow-up tasks. And then if I want to, I can then go over and then look at it. And this is that task over in Planner. You know, I was talking earlier, folks, that we're going towards to an interface, like to a portal to computing, and then like especially kicking stuff off, and then you'll only go to the apps to manage them or go into them or look at them, won't you? So I think this is super. I think this is almost as exciting as Copilot itself. But this unified interface for computing, I think, is super exciting. But folks, like I say, you could go next time you go to Copilot, go and look at your agents, and that should be available to you now. So it's public preview, which means that everyone gets it unless your organization's blocked it, but everyone gets it by default. The preview bit means that a few of the features might change. Okay, folks, I think that's great. If you're just kind of brainstorming, you're just thinking that you're just working on and like spinning a plan together, you can just very quickly do stuff. You could use the voice feature of Copilot just to get these sent off. I think it's fantastic, and it'd be interesting to see the way if you can talk about stuff and you're mid conversation with Copilot and you say, okay, turn that into a task. Okay, I want this title, and that whole thing that you said I should do to get my task done, make that task, and actually the steps are the little steps that you said. Super exciting, folks. And you should have that by the end of April if you don't have it yet. Okay, so Copilot mode for new tabs in Edge. So this is off by default, but needs to be turned on. I think this is interesting for Copilots, for organizations to look at and admins to look at. So I'm in Edge. I've created a new tab, and actually I get this window. Look at this. I've got combined search and chat. I've got my main apps, my usual apps that are across the top here. And then further down, I've got my calendar, my suggested prompts based on what I'm doing at the moment, and my M365 files that I'm engaged with at the moment. I think that might be quite a useful page. You know, when you're in Edge, new tab, I do quite like the look of that, but that's off by default and will need to be turned on. But it's available late May if your organization think it's worth a look. Word, Excel, and PowerPoint app home pages get a new search box. So you're in a browser, you've gone to the app launcher at top left hand corner, and you've gone to Word, and you land on this page. We're getting this new search box at the top. Okay, just make it so you don't have to scroll down. And then as I click it, it'll make some suggestions, and it'll fine tune this as I type. Okay, so just a quick, short, small quality of life feature. But I do quite like that. If you've got a gazillion documents that you engage with, I think that would be quite useful. It says it should be available by March. I don't have it yet, and I checked the admin center. It hasn't got a new date, so the date has passed, and I don't have it yet. So maybe next month I'll be telling you. You'll find that it's available to you, or I'll be telling you that it's delayed. Updated capabilities for agent mode in PowerPoint. So we talk about agent mode. So when we go into PowerPoint, we don't see agent mode anymore, do we? We don't see that option. We don't see it in Word or Excel anymore. We see edit with Copilot. But when Microsoft talk about the features, they still talk about edit with Copilot taking me into agent mode. Okay, so apologies, that's a bit confusing. I just want to just clarify that bit at the start. So when we talk about edit with Copilot, it used to be called agent mode, but Microsoft still refer to the capability as agent mode. Okay, so what have we got? So you can see here, you can see that we're in. I'm still going to call it agent mode because the other version it just doesn't come off the tongue. You can see, look at this little icon in here. You can see that I'm in agent mode, and I've said to it, rewrite the analogies on the right hand side to make the insights relatable. So it's just this bit here. I'm on the right hand side, and I've told it, and I'm editing the content on here, and I'm being very prescribed about what I'm doing. That seems to work great. Now I know that we've had Translate around for a while, but on here, translate this this presentation into French. Maybe Gail, maybe this is used for where you work, and it will create a whole new version of this slide deck in your chosen language. And speaker notes, so I have a screenshot for this. I do like the idea of speaker notes, so I can just say create speaker notes for the whole slide deck, and then hopefully it will create it. And of course, I'll be more prescribed. I'll say how long I want them to be, what tone of voice, what things to focus on. But I think that looks great. Those little tweaks that are coming look really good, and you should have those by the end of the month. Okie dokie. Create PowerPoint presentations and Word documents from Copilot notebooks. You know, I talked earlier about the way notebooks are getting better. And actually, this did come up when I was talking earlier. There's a couple of updates which kind of overlap different areas. So this functionality, creating PowerPoint presentations and Word documents from the notebooks. So you can, you might be able to just ask for it in the, on the right-hand side in the chat. But look at this also, this quick create makes it really easy. Rather than it being hidden behind a prompt, they're making it really easy just by saying, yeah, you got these quick creates. So really looking forward to that. So I don't have that in my main environments yet, but I should have it by the end of the month. That's why I'm telling you about it now. Create and edit images with a model of your choice. So look at this. This is a bit further out because it's the telescope, but it means that I can, in Copilot, when I'm creating images, we talked about images earlier, I can choose my model. I suspect that's going to be subject to your organization turning the other models on. A bit like that thing I said to you earlier with the PowerPoint. I'm guessing that it will be off by default in Europe and UK, on by default for the rest of the world. But we'll see. Hopefully I'll tell you all about that next month. Reference SharePoint libraries and OneDrive folders when creating presentations in agent mode in Copilot. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So I'm in that agent mode that you saw a minute ago, and then I can create. It's making it easier to create presentations from whole libraries and whole OneDrive folders. If that's a note, I'll tell you all about it next month. This is quite a nice little one. OneDrive's created in Teams channels will be stored in that SharePoint site, so they're nice and easy to find. Should be here by late September. You may already have this. I've talked about this before. This is the Copilot chat coming to forms. So I'm looking at my form, my results. I've got the activation button down there, so I can open Copilot chat. It's in a different location than the other apps, but it's down in the bottom right corner. And now you can engage with either the form itself or the results and get more insights. I talked about it a while ago, so if you don't have it, folks, you should have it by the end of May.